Good morning and welcome to my garden. Spring has absolutely sprung, and here in southeast Queensland I think we've entered the season called sprummer. We've got tops between 30 and 35 this week, and we might even see our rain coming back. During September we only had 7 millimetres of rain. That is our driest month of the year, and it's really dry and everything on the property is just looking sad and very thirsty. I'm watering less because the rainwater tank is getting low, but I'm doing what I can. Here in the East Wedge Garden, I have prettied it up with some more bulbs, some agapanthus, and I've also planted some corn plants. So I've got 1, 2, 3, 4 drippers along which I've planted corn plants. Now normally a drip is not the best way to grow seeds, and you can see I've got some pretty patchy sprouting. I planted a seed either side of each dripper, just like I've done here. But you can see in most places only one has come up. So I'll wait until they're about knee high and then I'll replant. Along the front here I planted beans and rainbow chard and rosellas. Well, it looks like this little rosella here is taking off. Looks like both of them are coming up. Oh, that's good. That way I can choose to keep the strongest plant. It's going to be a very pretty garden. Contour 1 on the east. I have a lot of chilies growing in this garden. Once again here I also planted seeds, and I hope that the dripper would provide enough water for them to come up, and I don't think they have. At the back here I planted parsnip on that back dripper. I planted radish in the middle, and I planted parsley along the front dripper. You can see that the only seeds that germinated under the dripper were the radish. It's now too late to plant parsnip. I can't get any more of that for the season. I planted tomatoes in here. I don't think they've come up either. There are some volunteer tomatoes, but I don't think they are of the variety that I did choose. I also planted beetroot along the front here. So it seems to me that you can't expect seeds to germinate with a dripper hose. I've tried, I've learned. My yacon here is growing very happily. It likes the dripper. Clearly that works for it. My capsicums are starting to produce, and I actually had a couple of capsicums to pick yesterday. It's very exciting. My chillies are getting very big. They'll start changing colour to red very soon. I also planted okra in here. I also planted eggplant. I planted more capsicums of different types. A dripper is clearly not the way to grow seeds. I would be using the hose, but being our dry month and our rainwater tank is less than half, I really don't want to run out of water, so I've scaled back my watering as much as I can. So I guess that means that this season I won't be getting any more seeds to grow in the ground. I guess it's time for me to learn to grow them in punnets again. These sweet peas are supposed to grow up and look beautiful and have pretty flowers on them. I don't think they want to. All they're doing is growing on the ground. I think I might have planted them a bit late, but I don't think I'm going to get anything from them. However, we've got some beans growing in between them. They'll grow up on the trellis. And I've also planted rock melon and cucumber and watermelon beside a dripper each. So we'll see if they germinate. This papaya that I chopped down, I've cut it on an angle, and I was hoping that water wouldn't build up in there. But as you can see, it's got a hollow there and it's sunken down a bit. I will trim this back a bit and see how it goes. My nectarine's looking happy, but I've got to keep pulling off these side branches down low. I don't want branches down low. I want it to grow a nice strong trunk. I saw that its main trunk was leaning to the side and I left it. It looks like it's put up a straighter one. So I might just prune this side trunk off because I just want a straight trunk at this stage. No branching until it's knee high, just like that. And now that can grow nice and straight and tall and have a beautiful central trunk. My other nectarines are doing so excitingly well. This one here actually has fruit on it. first time I've ever grown stone fruit, and it's quite exciting to actually have fruit on it. Got some more flowers appearing over there, so that's very good. This one's an apricot, and it's finally growing new leaves for the season. And this nectarine has so much foliage on it. It's very happy. A chop and drop has not grown back very much at all over the end of winter and the start of a very dry spring. I think it's a reminder to me to not leave it too late to cut my chop and drop plants down. I didn't cut them until June, just before we went away, and the result is that it was getting dry and it was getting cold. Nothing had a chance to grow back. In future, I think I'll cut it down in autumn and let it continue to grow up until we get the rains in spring. My asparagus bed has had a change of face. We've put down horse manure and mushroom compost and straw. I've planted lots of strawberries. My rhubarb is growing well. The asparagus has all popped out of the ground. Yes, every single plant popped up and is doing great. I thought some of them weren't going to come up, but they all have. This rhubarb is doing really well. I think that's grown significantly in the last couple of days. I weeded out here a few days ago at the beginning of the week, and it's grown so much even since then. This Bravo plant has such huge strawberries. They are quite big and they are very flavourful. Whereas with some of the other varieties I've got here just aren't producing really yummy fruit. For example, this red gauntlet, they're all very small. I think this one's called Roman, and these strawberries are also very small. That's why I planted different varieties of strawberries, because they all grow differently and I want to experience the different varieties and how they grow. My roses are flowering. This plant and this plant I grew from cuttings, and this one was a gift, and it's beautiful to see them all flowering now. Very exciting, very lovely. Another exciting bit of news, my seed-grown grapevine is growing. I have waited so long to see that growing happily. I was really scared I'd killed it off. But no, she's doing well. The bananas I planted to use as chop and drop, they're all growing too. Some of them have put up a lot of pups, and there are many of them in the one stand. And it looks like we've got some volunteer pumpkin too. I'm going to keep that out here on the chop and drop row because I'm pretty sure they'd do a quick job of smothering strawberries. Now this banana clump is not dwarf, and it will grow so big that it will cause problems for my grapevine trellis. So I'm going to keep an eye on it, and as soon as it gets too much taller, it'll become chop and drop. That's its purpose. I have picked the new place for my banana plants to go, and I will attempt again to successfully remove a pup without cutting off all its roots, and I'll plant that in the new place. My windbreak row here isn't very full. There are spaces where the sugarcane has died off or the arrowroot isn't looking happy, but still it makes a significant difference to the wind that blows around in the garden, and it's much calmer on this side than it is on the other side. Recently we cleaned up a mess here and pulled out a whole heap of volunteer tomato plants. They were all dumped along here. I'm happy to have tomato volunteer plants grow along here, and we do harvest a lot of tomatoes from here. But what's been very exciting is a lot of the tomatoes that we dumped here, they're still slowly ripening. So we come out every couple of days and pick even more tomatoes from along here. It's doing really well. It's nice to have fresh tomatoes just like that. I think I picked 2 4-litre ice cream containers of tomatoes yesterday. My little mango trees are loaded with flowers. I've been warned that mangoes haven't been very productive in fruiting for the last few years, but it's exciting to see the flowers, even if I have no promise of fruit. My chop and drop row here is yet to become properly chop and drop. The arrowroot hasn't grown very much. Once it does, I'll drop it here and I'm sure it'll smother all this grass that's growing here. Again, this mango is loaded with flowers. You can see the little fruit starting to form. I wonder if I'll get any off them. These have been planted for just over a year now. Another volunteer tomato plant that we're enjoying harvesting from. And look at this one. There's so many flowers on this. I hope it actually turns some of those flowers into fruit for me. What, that's about 1 metre high? Very pleasing. So many flowers on that. And I've noticed that I've got a number of ants doing the pollinating for me. Ants do a lot of pollinating. Nothing to report on the pond. That'll come. Contour 1 in the middle was the most recent cleanup that I did. And the vetiver was tall as this papaya. Oh, that's interesting. The papaya was heavily leaning before I cleaned up. And it looks to me like it's already corrected its stance. It's much straighter already. With the vetiver growing tall around it, it was shading it quite significantly. Look, there's a little bird that's just arrived here. Oh, I don't know what he is. So just a week after I chopped down the vetiver and arrowroot, the papaya seems to be straightening up already, which is good, and it's already producing new flowers and fruit. That's what I like to see. This tomato vine has done all right. Hasn't got a lot of fruit on it, but they've been, 3 on every truss? I've got them bagged, and everything that wasn't bagged has holes in it and has been stung. So bagging tomatoes in subtropical Queensland is very important because the fruit fly just get them. I've got some pineapples coming on. All 4 of these pineapples are producing a fruit. And I've recently planted some more pineapples there. I'm very pleased to see my red carrots producing seed. Not many red carrots have produced seed in my garden. I've got lots of seed from the yellow and the purple, but I'm pleased to see the red. There are just some times when the flavour of a red carrot is more appropriate to the meal. And here are some more red carrots that are producing seed, although I'm not convinced they're red. I think they look like the pink ones that are more reddy orange inside. This tomato vine's all finished, but what I am enjoying picking is fresh mulberries. Perfect breakfast treat. All these carrot flowers here are from yellow carrots. See if I can find one. They look green above the ground, but when you dig down a bit, they're yellow. Actually, it was interesting to note that the biggest one there was chewed on by something, but it was able to keep growing, and it's got a lovely head of flowers on it now. All these seeds will be spread on the garden bed, and when it rains, they'll sprout back up and give me my next crop of carrots. Chop and drop row along here has gathered a lot of weed, and I'm a little bit concerned about it taking over, but I haven't had a lot of time to work in the garden, so I have left it there, hoping that I'm not going to be paying for that sin forever. These sweet peas have some pretty purple flowers. They're almost black. And these ones are more purple and less black. Growing beside my surinam spinach. Picked a good sized cabbage from here. More carrot weed. It is a concern. This bed currently has nothing productive in it. I picked the last edible carrots a couple of days ago. And so now all we have is carrots going to seed and carrot weed going to seed. So I need to get onto that. Looks like this seed head is ready to be harvested and spread. You can see all the seeds in this flower head. There are so many seeds there. When the rain comes, I will pull them all out and make it all tidy again and then plant it up for the new season. Contour 2 on the north, the chop and drop row, has become kind of like a seed bank. There were a lot of volunteer brassicas along this row, and now they're all finished. They've all gone to seed, and some of the seed is ready to harvest. I'll harvest that and spread that along the garden beds in the chop and drop rows, and so that can be another forage forest for me. Some more to chop and drop, some more to give habitat. It's really nice coming out and being able to pick random leaves from all over the garden to munch on them or bring them in for the family for salad. My avocados are looking especially beautiful. They're all happily growing. You can see I pruned them to be very narrow. Well, now that they've got a bit of height on them, it might be all right for me to start letting them come out over the vegetables a bit to provide a bit of summer shade. We've got brown onions here, and we've got some volunteer lettuce, and I oversowed that with some carrot. By the look of the leaf, it looks like a purple carrot. Leek, celery, some more volunteer lettuce, some more purple carrot, and I know this one's purple. It's huge. I'm leaving that one there to be seed again. Snapdragons, so pretty. And there's some red ones over there behind the carrot weed. Red onions, volunteer lettuces, some more celery, parsley, carrots. Got some capsicum plants with some beautiful flowers and some fruit coming on. That'll be exciting to harvest all that. These are a mixed sweet variety, so there'll be all sorts of colours and shapes. Now this is giant Russian garlic. I harvested one plant recently and it had no clove bulb formed. There were some tiny cloves, that it had no bulb formed. There were some tiny cloves on the side of the stem down near the roots, but they were only less than 1 centimetre square. So I'm not quite sure what's going on with that. The plant doesn't look like it's dying off yet, so maybe it can last for a bit longer, but we'll see what happens with that one. My brown onion here is still alive and looking happy, and it's still got a lot of growing to do. It's not very big, so I'm going to leave that for longer. But my red onion here is definitely ready to be harvested. In fact, I have harvested some of it, and they're such a good size onion. They're not very strong in flavour. I wonder if the strength of flavour comes from drying it and then being aged a little. These red onions were planted at the same time as the brown onions, so that's good to observe and understand. These potatoes were growing in my cupboard and they were looking very old and shriveled and very unappetising, so I planted them. This is also giant Russian garlic, so we'll see how that grows at this time of year. Garlic doesn't like humidity, so I'm not sure if it's going to be successful at all. Contour 3 on the north. There's a lot of carrot weed here too. I think this is something that's going to cause me problems. My apple plants on this contour are starting to grow new leaves for the new season. They haven't grown much in height since I planted them. My pomegranate's got some first flowers for this season. I think there are 4 flowers on the plant at the moment. So we'll see how many of those are fertilised this year. I've increased the number of succulents along here. I've added agave to this line. I've been enjoying the cranberry hibiscus. It makes a lovely addition to salads. It's very pretty and it's got a very distinct leaf flavour. Chop and drop along the back of contour 3 hasn't been added yet. When we get some rain, I can add some plants along there. The daikon radish that was growing here has been used for food when it was young, and then some of them grew too big, and so I'm letting them go to seed. The seed is starting to dry off on some of the plants, so I can harvest them and then broadcast them along the other chop and drop rows as well. My blueberries are doing very well. As per usual, Sunshine Blue has got a lovely load of fruit and flowers on it. They're getting worm tea every couple of days, so they're rewarding us for that. Lovely load of flowers and fruit coming on. And I've recently planted miracle fruit. Now, miracle fruit likes a high acidity environment, just like blueberries do. And so I planted them together so I can give them the same care at the same time. Yeah, you can see the back of contour 3 is not very well tended. But that's all right. When the rain comes, I'll clean it all up and plant it up with vegetables. Some more volunteer tomatoes and sweet potato. And interestingly, I've noticed my first damage from wallabies. You can see that they've been pruning my sweet potato for me. I'm not too worried about that because sweet potato have lots of leaves, and if they reduce the leaves, then it will also increase the size and number of tubers under the ground for me to harvest later. You can see there's more nibbling happened along here and here. They had a good feast. So long as they don't nibble on everything else, I'll be happy. My fennel has gone to flower. Very pretty yellow flowers. Thankfully, only one plant's gone to flower because the other plant I'm still eating from. So I keep up with this one and it looks like I'm not keeping up with it, doesn't it? I'll have to keep harvesting from this to prevent it from going to seed. Broccoli's done, but that's okay. I'll leave it there until the rains come and then I'll clean it up. I've been harvesting parsnip. Last year I grew parsnip for the first time and I forgot to harvest it, forgot to check when I should have harvested it, and it was woody and horrible by the time I got to it. But this year I've harvested it earlier and it has been so lovely and creamy and delicious, and it's really been a pleasure to eat them. Looks like that one there is very ready to be harvested. I better get to that before that one becomes not edible. My broad beans, well, number one, note the fact that I didn't support them. And most of them are growing pretty well, which is good to know. Number two, note the overabundance of aphids. Now, at one stage I saw lots of beneficials on them eating them, but the reality is there have been so many aphids that they have prevented the plant from producing pods. And you can see all the flowers have been sucked dry and they're all dead. Yeah, okay, some of them still have some pods on them, but they're looking in very bad condition. So I have had maybe 2 harvests, and that's not really enough from this number of plants. And it looks like the ants have moved in to farm the aphids. The aphids aren't going to move on if the ants are farming them. Thankfully, the aphids haven't moved to anything else, so I'm tempted to actually just leave them there. Maybe it'd be wise for me to spray them all off. These brassicas look pretty done. They're not coping with the hot weather. They do get watered regularly, a couple times a week. Some cabbages forming along the back there. They're not looking so great. It's a very dry season. I've actually started a new contour. I did sow some cover crop along here and I was watering it twice a week, but that just wasn't enough for the dryness that we have at the moment. I've planted a lychee. I have planted something else here. Red cherry Rio Grande. I've never grown them before, so I don't know how it's going to go. And it looks like the wallabies have been pruning that, so I'm going to have to cover that to keep the wallabies off it. And the other one I have planted is the red Cherry Guava. It's doing okay. I think the wallabies had a go at it originally, but they've moved on. So it's doing all right now. So there's my new contour there. It is on contour. It is running east-west. And I'll have a thick cover crop and then a chop and drop row to capture the water as it runs down the hill. So that's my garden. It's been a very dry start to spring. I hope the promised October rains come very soon. Thanks for walking around my garden with me.